Hello, my friends. Welcome to another evening with the Carpo After Dark session, for what it's worth. Standing outside here in my front yard, rather my porch. Got my camera here and sitting in the bed of a pickup truck. My cat's saying hello. I brought this pickup truck home from my mother-in-law's house today. It's got some problems where it won't start when it's hot, but we need to take it because I need to load it up, take it with us to the Eclipse Fest that's coming up here, Symbiosis. And we're leaving in a couple days, and my brain's kind of scattered right now. I've kind of been in a strange state of mind for the last, couple weeks, and it's kind of built into a crescendo. I have this, an interesting state of mind right now. I have all day tomorrow to go out and shop and get ready and get all the basic groceries and whatnot for my trip, but, I'm sitting here in this pickup and it's, got my basic camping gear in it and whatnot. And, ooh, somebody's driving really fast. They must be cool. So, I haven't made very many videos lately, and I wanted to come out and make this video. And before I walked outside, I was watching this video from a guy who I really enjoy watching his videos. His name is Peter Draws, just like it sounds. And he's an artist named Peter, and he's a very interesting fellow, very eccentric. He's I won't even try to describe the fellow. He's just a cool guy. You can tell he's got his thing going, and he's a really good artist. And just before I walked out here, there was this one particular one where he was talking about art and what a strange thing it is. And he said that he posted a drawing, and everybody really liked it more than any of his other drawings. And he said it was one that only took him 45 minutes. And he started mentioning how strange it is, how art is such a strange thing. And in the sense that people will like something that didn't take you very long, that you don't think very much of. And then ones that you spend hours and hours on, people are like, meh. And that really hit home for me as an artist myself. I always think of this song I wrote. It's a song I wrote back in 1990, 91 maybe, and it's called A Bottle of Air. I played it. I did a video of it one time. Anyhow, it's basically 2 chords. It's a 2-chord song, and then it goes into a chorus with 3 chords, and then it goes back to 2 chords. I'm pretty sure it's only 4 total simple chords, very slow song, easy. And every time I played that song, people really liked it. Much more than any of the other songs that I'd spent much more time writing. It really got me thinking about the perspective that we have of our own art. And it was then, which was 90? So, 27 years ago that I realized that art only needs to move. It needs to be only simple. But even knowing that, I still end up creating complicated things. So I guess the message I'm trying to convey here is to keep it simple, to remember that the most simple things are the most beautiful. I make Fimo clay art, or I used to. And anybody who's ever done Fimo clay art knows that if you take a few pieces and you put them together and long rows, and you slice them into pieces, you can make that, a repeating pattern. That's, I don't know, you'd have to understand how Fimo's done. It's very similar to glass, and the way that glass is sliced into pieces, or candy. When they all look the same, you see those little patterns where you have a long tube. Picture a hot dog that has sticks pushed through it, and you slice it up, and every piece has the same design. If you do that and you add too many colors and you overcomplicate it, it'll become so blended, and there will be so many colors and so many different patterns that it'll just look like a gray blur. But if you actually take the time to, I should say, don't take too much time, but just make a good pattern and be done with it, it'll be recognizable. And people will say, wow, that's beautiful, that's a crazy pattern, even though it only took you a few minutes. I can say this, but as an artist myself, I know that you can't just say, well, make simple things. It's just not how people are. It to me proves that art is for the individual more than it's for other people. Everybody likes getting approval, but we get a certain satisfaction out of doing our own art and creating our own things. And I'm talking about music, as well as, clay, pottery, whatever you do, anything. Even if you just slap some paint on a piece of plywood, that's what art is to me. It's being able to do, I don't know, I like to stack rocks, and I didn't even realize that until one of my subscribers out there sent me a email with a picture of a rock stack they'd done. I can't remember who it was. They said they were going to send me like a piece of art too. So, hello if you're out there. Excuse me. And it was called a cairn, C-A-I-R-N, and I wasn't familiar with the term until I did a little bit of research. And he said, "Oh, it's a rock cairn," and I realized that's what I've been doing all this time. Making these balanced rock piles. Sometimes 10 or 20 high, and I enjoy natural art, and it reminds me of the mandalas that they do in Tibet. The monks will do these sand mandalas that take days, weeks, months to do, depending on how complex. And in the end, they'll just sweep it all up. They don't even think twice. And of course, and this is something I'd like to point out. That once they do sweep it up, every one of those monks is thinking, oh, "Damn." But it may just be a brief interlude, but that's kind of part of the humanity that we're trying to understand, to realize that everything comes and goes, and everything is fleeting, nothing is forever. That's just how it is, and that's the world we live in. So that's how art is. You might make it on a canvas, you might make it on paper, you might make it just out of rocks on a stream and it gets washed away, but it all gets washed away eventually. Well, it's one of the things that I'm really excited about this festival is Symbiosis is somewhat like a refined Burning Man, if you will, and it's a week-long festival with 7 stages and several different art installations and people just expressing themselves and being themselves. And when you're in a community of people who can do that and feel free to express whoever they are, you find that it's not just a bunch of, young kids taking ecstasy and dancing at raves. It's so much more than that. I've met so many old couples at Soak, which is the regional Burning Man here. Old couples who look like, an old man in his flannel shirt, 75 years old. Somebody you would never think that you would see at a place like that. And you find out that they're veterans and they've been going every year and they love Burning Man. And you can't judge people by how they look. You can only try to meet people and experience reality with them for a little bit. Because that's what we are. Humans are interesting creatures. I'll just say that. Being a human is, it's all we know. So you can't really judge it. You can't really, you can't interpret being human. Just like you can't interpret consciousness because you are conscious, All I can say before I go here, because I don't know if I'll make another video for a week or so until I get back from the event, I wanted to say that, I did want to mention something about all the bullshit that's been going on lately. And when I say bullshit, I guess the reason, why I don't talk about current events is because I like to talk about issues that are timeless, if you will. But what happened the other day in Virginia with that guy mowing down those pedestrians and that whole white supremacy rally and everything? Our country's going through some serious fucking changes right now. And as much as I like to say, yeah, well, it's just, people's true feelings finally coming out, and I do believe that, maybe even I am taken a little bit back by the ignorance of some people. And this goes on both sides. When I say, Virginia, of course I'm talking about this white supremacy march, and I should say white nationalist, because that's what they identify as, and it's not fair for me to say supremacist, although that's what I infer from that statement. Now, I'm a white male. I'm not going to go into the bullshit about white privilege and how I've always had it good. I've been through the same old shit. I'm just a poor white boy who's made his own way and figured his own shit out. And in that time, in my 41 years, my short 41 years, I've generally had a good life. And I can't say that I've been imposed upon by any Mexicans or any blacks or any Asians or any Muslims, for that matter. I live on the West Coast, and a lot of people say, well, it's white guilt, white privilege. Cut the bullshit. Let's get right down to what it looks like. The fact that people have always hidden their views that they feel that America is meant to be white. And they don't hide that. These people marching, what they believe is that America should be a white nation. And when we talk about the details, they get into semantics. Oh, we're not Nazis. Oh, we're not supremacists. You cut the bullshit. You're saying that America is a white nation, white nationalists. Being proud of your race is something that I've really thought a lot about lately. Because I've thought, coming from a white nationalist standpoint, they say, well, blacks are proud of their race, and a lot of Mexicans are proud of their race and their culture. And so I've done a lot of thinking about this, and not just for a couple days or for weeks, but for the last year or so, I've really thought about this. Why can't white people be proud of being white? And I thought, so be it, if you're proud of being white. I see no need to march with torches to prove that you're white. So be it. Whatever, if that's what floats your boat, to march around with torches and khakis, that shows to me that, there's obviously something wrong here. But let's just say for a minute that you're proud of being white, and you say, well, I do this because others are proud of their culture. And I've thought about this a lot, and I thought, it's not that others are proud of their race. This is the thing that people misunderstand. It's almost as if, let's see, there's a lot of heritage in Mexican culture. There's a lot of heritage in African culture. And there's a lot of heritage in Muslim culture, or Islam, which of course is divided among many different sects as well. You can't just say, oh, well, they're all terrorists. I mean, you have the Kurds, Kurdistan, which is a self-declared nation right in the middle of it all. And these are people who have women on the front lines who don't wear burqas. So, people understanding the cultures a little bit kind of changes the perspective. But it's frustrating that so many people just generalize everyone and say, well, we're a white nation. I'm not going to get into the details of how Mexicans and immigrants actually help this nation. I'm not going to get into the details about how, terrorism really isn't the big threat, that it's mostly white bankers that are your problem. And that... blaming these different cultures and blaming blacks is ridiculous. They helped us build this country. And the reason there are so many African Americans here is because of the fact that they were cotton pickers, their ancestors in this nation. And it's absurd that whites can think that this is a white nation. This is a melting pot, and with what's going on, even earlier in the night, I just found out an hour ago that, I think it was North Carolina, that a bunch of protesters roped and pulled down, a Confederate statue. And basically what's happening is that the alt-right and the right-wingers are saying, oh, look at these frustrated, angry liberals, and look at what they're doing, and look at the destruction. And I've been sitting by idly watching this and thinking, I don't condone violence. I don't condone destruction. But at a certain point, when does a person stand up and say, hey, enough is enough? And to me, tearing down a Confederate statue, that's not destruction of public property. That's not even destruction of private property. That's just the right thing to do. When I see people flying a Confederate flag, it just makes me want to puke, and I feel like the liberals have been really quiet for so long. And now they are gathering en masse and starting to say, we're not going to take it anymore. And I don't agree with all the hardcore leftists. I'm not a liberal that associates myself with other liberals. I'm a liberal-minded person because I believe in other people. I believe in community. I believe in individuals. I also believe in freedoms, and that includes all races. And so, if you want to make America great again, then you have to ask yourself when it was ever great. And I think that making America great is a matter of getting there, and we haven't quite got there yet. We've been able to suppress our racism and our sexism and our hatred for one another for a long time, and now it's all coming out. It's not that Donald Trump turned this key, and honestly, I despise Donald Trump. But I also believe that this was a necessary evil. That as much as I hate Trump, and I think that the guy is the biggest piece of shit fraud for a human being that I've ever seen, I like nothing about him. And I actually gave him a chance. I said, I hope maybe in this first 6 months he'll actually be able to do something. And here we have, a GOP who has the House, the Senate, Congress. And we still have the president tweeting that the Democrats are causing all this blockage. And, it's bullshit. This whole government is bullshit. The American political system is a facade. And it has been for a long time. There's no real honesty out there. So, for me, my point for saying this is that, to me, America has nothing to do with the government, and Trump isn't even the problem. If anything, he's exposed the problem, and he's just a mirror image of everything that's wrong with America, but so are everybody around him. The only difference is that he's honest about it, but it doesn't make it right. So I despise him. I despise, his whole cabinet, all the Wall Street bankers he's put in office, and the whole swamp, as well as the whining, crying liberal Democrat side who just want to fucking give away everything to everyone and think that everyone's out to get them. Both sides have their problems, and it's really hard to convince people to be individuals, to be an independent, because it means you have to think by yourself, you have to think rationally, you have to think critically. You can't just fall in line with the group and say, oh, what does everybody else say? And that's what a lot of people are doing these days. I mean, it's nothing new. It's what a lot of people have always done, but anyhow, it's been a long video here. I've been rambling about politics. I probably shouldn't have, but it feels good. I'm heading out in a couple days, so I will talk to y'all when I return, if I don't make another video. And have a wonderful day.